Locally for the Carolinas. Locked down! This is the Rob Brown Show. Get robbed! Only on
The Fan Upstate.
And away we go, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Hello to you. And how do you do, ladies and gentlemen? How is life treating you today? Very well, I hope. My name is Rob Brown. It is so good to have you along for the ride on a Wednesday afternoon. We have so much to talk about, so much to get to, so much to discuss, debate, and otherwise kick around between now and noon o'clock when this edition of the Hall of Fame caliber show that is the Rob Brown Show goes off the air. Joined today as the great one, Zoe, is getting his butt kicked by cartilage something. I don't know what's going on. But hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. Sitting in the seat of the great one today, driving the show, steering the ship, is our boy Brandon here in the house. How you doing, big dog?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, man. Good. Glad
Let's
to
get
have
a
you.
good day.
Hopefully, we're going to find out. Better for us than Lonzo, but,
Yeah.
we'll find out.
We're sending our thoughts to you, Alonzo.
Yeah, man. Get better. Get better.
Please.
Because Brandon's like, otherwise I got to be here early, and it's loud. I get it. Busy day on the radio broadcast today. We've got a lot of stuff that we need to get into, and we are going to be wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and it all the way through the whole thing coming up over the duration of the show today. We've mentioned it a couple of times. Today, we will get into it. Clemson has added not one, not two, not three, but 4 new players to its basketball program via the transfer portal. Now, I have heard this described as a job-saving maneuver for Brad Brownell, but is it? Are the numbers there to support that as a possibility? We're going to discuss that later on in the show. Is it time for the Gamecock baseball program to push the panic button? They have lost not 1, but 2 Southeastern Conference baseball series back-to-back, including a sweep at the hands of Kentucky, but it gets worse than that, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, in a midweek game, a game that by all considerations should have been considered a get-right game.
Like a walk in the park?
Yeah, literally a walk in the ballpark. You should have been able to walk into the park and win the game against the University of North Florida. Now, I'm from Florida. I know most of the universities in Florida and where they are. I got no clue where North Florida is or what North Florida is. I know they're the Ospreys, and that's only because late last night when I popped on Twitter as I was doing my nighttime show prep, I saw South Carolina loses midweek game to North Florida, the lowest RPI loss that the Gamecocks have suffered so far this year. Not a great look. What the hell happened? What is going wrong right now for a team that just a couple of weeks ago climbed all the way up to number 3 in the baseball polls and was expected to not threaten but almost solidify a regional hosting position and potentially a super regional berth? We're going to talk about that coming up later on in the radio broadcast as the Ospreys upset the now number 6 and soon to drop South Carolina Gamecock baseball program. We have got a lot of Carolina Panther talk to get into on the radio broadcast today. A handful of stories that we need to address. Number one, Scott Fitterer has said there is no timetable to naming Bryce Young QB1. In fact, went so far as to say that Andy Dalton will begin the year as QB1 this year, which, by the way, is the right call. We'll talk about that. Now, that's not to say BY can't supplant the Red Rifle as QB1 before the beginning of the year. There's a lot of preseason football between here and week 1 of the National Football League calendar. But as of right now, the Red Rifle is QB1, BY is number 2, and there doesn't seem, according to Fitterer, to be a timetable to make that flip. Rich Gannon, Super Bowl caliber quarterback, said that is the right way to handle it, and I agree with Rich. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. We have got a list of players from around the National Football League that have been discussed as breakout players. And there was one on that very short list belonging to the Carolina Panthers. And I agree that this individual is a breakout candidate, potentially even a comeback player of the year in the National Football League, so long as he's not hampered by injuries again. But I actually think there's one other player on the roster that could be mentioned on that list as well. We're going to talk about all of that later on in the show. Deion Sanders, I meant to get to this yesterday. I ran out of time / also. Lonzo works 22 jobs here at the studio, which means that I had to do 23 yesterday playing the role of Zoe. So I did not get a chance to step into this, and we're going to talk about this later on in the radio broadcast. But Deion Sanders has had a massive amount of roster turnover. He had a ton of transfers out. He has got a bunch of guys that have followed him from Mississippi out to Boulder, Colorado. We're going to take a look inside the numbers, not just because of what's happening with the Colorado program. We're going to take a look inside the numbers for 2 other reasons. Number 1, something very interesting is happening in Las Vegas right now. Bettors are flocking to put money on the Colorado Buffaloes, not just as potential conference champions, but they're rushing to put money on the Buffaloes as potential national?
What?
Yes, that is the correct response, Brandon. That is the correct response. What? Listen, weed is legal in Colorado.
I'll have what they're having then.
That's the only explanation I've got for that.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a look at the roster turnover and the numbers of
Which is
this story.
staggering.
I don't get it. I mean, I get why Deion's doing it. I don't agree with it, but I get why he's doing it. It's a new philosophy. It's something we've never seen done before. And frankly, up until last year, it's really not something you could have done. But now it is. Deion's doing it. We're going to talk about if it's going to work. We've got news out of the National Football League coming up later on in the radio broadcast. The NFL's schedule release is tomorrow evening, ladies and gentlemen. And you're going to learn a couple of things. Number 1, we're going to learn, actually, we have learned, what teams are going to Europe this year. There were a few that were reported earlier in the week as potential European trip takers that are not on the list, and a couple that weren't that are. We have now got the European schedule put out. We're going to tell you who's going over on the other side of the pond later on in the show. You're also going to learn tomorrow that all 4 teams in the NFC South are inside of the 11 easiest schedules in the National Football League based on winning percentages and records of common opponents from last year. That sounds great. Sounds phenomenal. The Saints have an easy schedule according to win records and percentages. So do the Cats, so do the Birds, and so do the Bucks. But it's not quite time to start popping champagne based on that fact, ladies and gentlemen. It's not quite time to celebrate that. We're going to come to that later on in the radio broadcast. And out of the National Basketball Association, couple of good games last night. The Nuggets get it done against the Suns. and the 76ers beat the holy dog snot up out of the Boston Celtics. It was the worst performance of the Boston Celtics in these playoffs so far. And Joel Embiid took full advantage of that. We're going to talk about that. The Golden State Warriors have their back against the wall. Game 5 is going back to San Francisco, and the Dubs, the defending national champions, are facing elimination in this game. Very interesting take has started making the rounds on Twitter. Now, we've had conversations about Steph Curry. I told you guys it was a good game, but Steph Curry screwed the pooch in the last game. Not only was his shot selection in the fourth period a steaming pile of hot garbage, but he lacked court awareness, which is not common for Steph Curry. But it certainly felt to me, at least in that game, we'll see if it turns to be true in Game 5, that Steph Curry, a four-time NBA champion, was feeling the pressure placed on him by LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Lonnie Walker IV, noted superstar Lonnie Walker IV, was feeling the pressure, and he caved. But there's a take going around on Twitter right now that I find not only interesting, but I wonder if it's got some merit about coaching in the NBA. We're going to talk about that later coming up on the radio broadcast. And, of course, in the National Hockey League, the playoffs on the road to Lord Stanley's Cup are upon us. The Jersey Devils whooped up on the Carolina Hurricanes a few nights ago. 8-4 was your final in that one. And there were questions. People started saying, look out. The Devils have the Canes right where they want them. And there's an old adage that I subscribe to, which is a series is not over until a home team loses. Carolina went on the road last night. Stayed on the road last night, but you get it. Took on the Jersey Devils up there in New Jersey. And they didn't just answer the bell, ladies and gentlemen. They took the Devils' best shot in Game 3. They came back last night, and they lit the lamp. And again, and again, and again, and again, and again last night.
I lost count.
5 goals in the second period, if you lost count. Not only 5 goals in the second period, I believe 5 goals in like a 6-minute span or something like that.
Yeah.
Snipers! It was an incredible performance out of the Carolina Hurricanes. We are going to talk a little Stanley Cup playoffs later in the show. And finally, a question that I want to ask you guys in the next segment. It is not directly related to anything that is happening in the world of sports. You guys know I try to be relatively topical, but it kind of is. When, where, and is it okay to boo your own team? There's a situation taking place in Major League Baseball right now. There's a player who is playing up for a team in the North, in the Midwest, I guess, who is getting paid the most money that this team has ever paid to any individual to play for their franchise. He is getting paid more money by this Major League Baseball team than they have paid any player in the history of the ball club. And he's batting sub 200 right now. And he's getting booed by his fans. So, when, where, and is it okay to boo your teams? Is there a point in time where it is okay to express your displeasure audibly to the team, to the players that you otherwise support? I want to ask you that when we come back here in just a minute. This is going to be a busy show today, ladies and gentlemen, so don't go anywhere. Join us on the live stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate. Join us on the live stream by going to YouTube and searching and subscribing to the Fan Upstate. And join us by going to Twitch and searching and subscribing to the Rob Brown Show. We're running to a break. We'll be right back. I am Rob, Brandon filling in for Lonzo today. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to the Fan Upstate. Cool. All right, guys, got a live read right here. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Listen on demand.
Granger, for the ones who get
Hey,
it
look,
done.
Captain America, Chris Evans down the halls
Sponsored
on the
by
stream with
Jeff
us.
Martin Auctioneers. Don't miss the Jeff Martin Auctioneers Automobile Auction in Pelzer on Saturday,
Josh, you
May
must get,
13th, featuring cars,
forced
trucks,
during the season, my
SUVs,
man.
boats, motorcycles, RVs, and
Got 'em.
more. Bid your way live on site or
More
online at
regular thing. There it is.
jeffmartinauctioneers.com. Experience the difference. License 4283.
Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show.
Only on the Fan.
The Fan.
Upstate.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. I am Rob. Brandon playing the role of the great one, Lonzo, today. We appreciate the time and effort. So when is it okay? Is it okay? How is it okay to boo your team? There's a story taking place right now. The Minnesota Twins spent a lot of money to bring in Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa was supposed to be the missing piece. He was going to be the guy that fixed the problems for the Twins. Instead, Carlos Correa in his most recent game went 0 for 5. That dropped his batting average down to 185. And alongside going 0 for 5, he single-handedly stranded 6 runners on base.
Wasn't he the one that signed like 5 deals this offseason?
$200 million contract back on January 11th. Yes, there were some discussions because he had richer agreements with the San Francisco Giants and the New York Mets. There were questions about the long-term health of his ankle. Both of those teams decided to back away from the table. The Twins stepped up and signed him to a 6-year, $200 million contract back on January 11th. And now,
I wouldn't have signed him for that much.
not if I know he was going to go 0 for 5 with a 185 batting average.
Yeah.
Not a chance. Stranded 6 runners on base for the Twins in their 6-1 loss to the Padres, and said he, quote, absolutely, end quote, heard the booing. In fact, didn't even blame the fans. He said, quote, I'd boo myself too with the amount of money I'm making if I'm playing like that, end quote. Now, he was asked by media members, are you still dealing with an ankle injury? Are you banged up? What is going wrong? And he said there is nothing wrong with him. He's just having a slow start to the season. Correa said, quote, obviously the boos are acceptable. It's part of the game, part of sports. Fans want production, and fans want a team that's going to compete out there and win games. It's to be expected when you play poorly. But at the same time, the work doesn't stop. I'm going to keep working and keep focusing on the things I can control, and the results will come. Now, the good news for Minnesota is that they're 19-17. They lead the American League Central by 2 games over the Guardians and 2.5 over the Tigers. They have got some wonderful starting pitching going for them right now. They have scored 6 runs in their past 4 games. They had 28 hits in 58 innings on a 2-4 road trip last week, which they lost a couple by a single run. Problem is, hitting the ball for Carlos Correa just isn't happening. So Correa, who's getting paid, by the way, $32 million this year, tied for the 6th largest position player salary in the major leagues, is an easy target for the Twins. 0 for 5, 6 runners stranded. The Twins lost by 5. So my question to you is, as the Twins see the Boo Birds and some actual birds flying freely around their stadium right now, mostly directed at a single player, but really at the team for allowing Carlos Correa to continue down that stretch. Is there a time, is there a place where it's acceptable to dog your own team like that? I went, I'm from New Orleans originally, for those of you that don't know. And when I was a youngster, the Saints, my favorite NFL team, were affectionately referred to as the Aints. Ha, 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 ha.
They're still the Aints.
Nobody asked you, Brandon. Nobody asked you. Who's your team, Brandon?
The Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah. How many Super Bowls y'all working with so far?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've heard that
I'm just
before.
making sure. I'm just making sure. So, the Aints, fans would show up to the New Orleans Superdome with paper shopping bags over their head with the eyes cut out to see the game, and they would frequently draw big clown and frowny faces on the front. But as a cheerin', as a Ute, as Joe Pesci might have called me at the time, as a young one, I got taught you don't boo your team, right? They know they're bad. They're aware that they're bad. They know they suck. And that doesn't help anything. And ever since then, I've always kind of been on the bandwagon that booing the team isn't going to accomplish anything, right? If the team knows they're bad.
But you're allowed to voice your opinions on them, though.
I don't have a problem with that. That's what Twitter's for. That's what Facebook's for. It's what blogs are for. I got no problem with fans saying, this team stinks. No issue with that at all. But when you're doing it during a game, when you're doing it while the gals or the fellas are out on the floor, what do you think that's going to change? Do you think that Carlos Correa is 0 for 4 standing at the dish? He hears the boo birds come out, and Carlos Correa is going to go, damn, I'm getting booed. I should try to get a hit now. Like, yeah, he knows, right? He knows you're not helping anything in that case by dropping the boos. If you're that upset about the team, just leave. Just go home. Don't buy tickets. Don't buy gear. Don't buy merch. I've told you guys for many years, if you're, say, a Dallas Cowboys fan, and you're, say, disappointed by the direction of the team, and you're, say, willing to blame it on Jerry Jones. Now, I'm not saying it's all Jerry Jones' fault. I am saying it's mostly Jerry Jones' fault. If you're going to blame it on JJ, that the team has been mid, new favorite word of the day amongst the youth. If you blame JJ that the team is mid, you may show up and you may boo all that you wish to do so, but you're not changing anything by showing up and booing relentlessly, because JJ still got your money, bro. It's in his pocket. He's buying Diet Coke and Jacks with it that night. That's what JJ drinks.
Wasn't there a team that had fan base that showed up on social media saying we deserve better, and it was the Raiders. He got kicked out of the game because he showed his displeasure during the game.
Yeah, they're gonna do that. And again, I guess I don't know. Like, on one hand, I get it. If I paid, especially with the cost of tickets to professional sporting events nowadays, if I paid $75, $85, $100, $125 to go see a team play, and I show up and the team stinks, like, yeah, I'm going to be bummed out. But I again, you're not going to make anything better, right? You're not going to make anything better. So I'll ask you guys, do you boo your team in person? Like, is this something that you're comfortable doing? And again, maybe it's just because when I was a fan of a really bad football team.
Let's be honest. Back then, it was the Falcons and the Saints were the two worst teams in the league.
Yeah. Our rivalry was born because we were just trying to figure out who was on the bottom of the trash can and who was right on top of that.
You were guaranteed 2 games a year on TV, and it was the Falcons and the Saints at home each other to see who the worst team in the league was.
Always. So when I was growing up as a fan of a crappy team, and we were, I know it, I got told there's no point in booing the team. It's not going to make them play better. You're not fixing anything. Now, in fairness, there is a element to it of being a Saints fan or a Falcons fan maybe that I think adds another dimension to this conversation. And that dimension is this. Part of the reason, and I came to recognize this later on in life because I'm old now. Part of the reason that we got taught not to boo the team wasn't because of the impact it was going to have on the team, but it was more along the lines of, you're going to lose most of the game, so you might as well do your best to enjoy it anyway, right? A football game is supposed to be fun. Now, winning is more fun, sure, but it is still a game. And I think for me growing up with my team being hot garbage, just a dumpster fire of a franchise for so long, I think a part of it from me was if you go to the game and you get mad at the team and you spend the time booing the team, you're wasting precious minutes that you could be having fun, enjoying yourself, drinking a cold beer, eating the best nachos in America, Superdome nachos down in New Orleans. Like, you're wasting time not enjoying life when you're booing your team because they're bad. You know they're bad before you bought a ticket, so why would you go there to be angry at a football team? Just enjoy your life. And I know that not every team is like that, right? Not every team has been historically bad. A lot of teams have actually been pretty good. Pretty good. And if you expect to be good and your team is bad, or if you spend $32 million on a shortstop who's batting below the 200 line, where's the room for fun there, right? If you're expecting more. So, I don't know. Have you guys booed your team in the past in person, at a game, at a match, at a competition, at an event, whatever? Have you ever booed your own team, and what was the situation behind it? You ever booed your own team at a game before?
Yes, I have.
Why?
Well, it was actually when the Atlanta Braves, they started their downward spiral after the hot 90s. They just were a hot mess. They didn't know what they were doing. And I was like, I paid to go because I was used to seeing the old style Braves. I went to a Braves game and they were getting trashed 13-2. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why did I pay $30 to come see this? So I booed. I don't even remember who they were playing, but they were playing someone that's not that good.
So this would have obviously still been during the Bobby Cox era. But like after Bobby Cox was being bad, when things got sideways. I get it. So I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever done it before. And again, maybe it's, I don't know if it's because of my, like the way I was raised in a sports family, right? I was raised in a sports adjacent family. My mom loves the Saints. She's a big fan. Most of my Saints fandom comes from her, though my dad did too. But my whole family is Saints fans. And again, we were kind of always taught, don't boo the team because A, you're not going to do anything, but B, you're wasting time that you could be enjoying a game. And I don't know if that's just a me thing or if you guys are like, yeah, I'll boo a team. I don't give a damn. I don't care. If they suck, they suck. And I need to let them know. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we got a lot of stuff we need to get into. We're going to talk some NBA on the radio broadcast today, including Chiney Ugwumake is one of, to me, the better basketball broadcasters. But she said something last night in her game breakdown of the Suns-Nuggets series that made me do the old Jean-Luc Picard facepalm. I'm going to tell you what it was when we come back. I'm Rob. Brandon filling in for Lonzo on the Rob Brown Show with a Fan Upstate.
This is WWE Intercontinental Champion Inga
All right.
Gunther, and you're listening to the Rob Brown Show.
Joey B
on
said,
the Fan
when undefeated
Upstate.
Clemson got boat raced at home by FSU in 2013, I booed like hell, and after they went down 24-7 in the second quarter, I left. At 24-7, I'll stick around for unless he gets one. So we get like 35-7. 24, that's 3 touchdowns. That's not
added 2 hits and scored 3 runs. The Orioles
Jennifer said, is that a monster? It is, Jen, if you don't mind me calling you Jen. And I'll tell you why.
Within 5.5 games of the Major
because
League Rays. Elsewhere, the
yesterday,
Phillies doubled up the Blue Jays 8-4. The Reds beat the Mets 7-6. New York with 12 losses in their last.
I got
15.
the old notification from the boss man that Lonzo was going to be out, and I had to fly solo on the show.
Beat the Devils 6-1
So I
to
had
go
one
up
yesterday.
3-1 in the best of 7. Jordan Martin
And then
with a
this
goal and
morning,
2 assists.
right as I was
Carolina
showing
with a
up to the
5-goal
office,
second period.
I got it.
Close the series out
Got another
Thursday night
text.
at
Alonzo
home.
was out today. My boy Brandon
Fan
filling
Upstate
in
is
for
your
us.
home for Furman
And Brandon
Paladin
is
sports
obviously
all
very
year
good at the
long.
job.
Download the Odyssey app, search
but I
for
want
Fan
to
Upstate
make
and
sure
listen
that I
anywhere
am.
on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
Yeah, that
From
means
the
take
Ingalls
the
Market
take
Studio, the Fan.
Let me know if they're gone now. I want to make sure that I do everything correct on my side so that Brandon has less to worry about on his side. And this is the only way. I will also tell you, as I create more excuses for myself, Jen, that the lady friend is, she just came back from the Bahamas, and she gets sick every time she travels. She's going to murder me for telling you all this. But she's been having some congestion issues, which means that she snores like a bear the last 2 nights, which means I'm awake. So this is my fix-it juice. That's fair. That's fair, Joey B. That's fair. All right. Be back in 30 seconds. Hope so. It'd be weird if I come back and you're not. Actually, let me do this. All right, dudes and dudettes. Yes, Hudson. As a matter of fact, Miss Jennifer up there in the chat told me about Celsius the other day. And I did try one. It was pretty good, honestly. It was solid. I don't like that they're like half-sized cans. I wish they were bigger cans. But yeah, no, it was pretty good. I had one, I don't know, whatever day Jennifer suggested it last week, Thursday or Friday. I had one the next day, so either Friday or Saturday, probably around 6 o'clock at night because I had to put some YouTube stuff together. And frankly, it was pretty good, to be honest with you. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It might start working its way into the rotation. But today, I had to go with the old reliable, man. Had to go with the old reliable. Texter said, Rob, how could you not know that the University of North Florida is in the dumpster of Jacksonville? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. You get it. Here's how I didn't know that the University of North Florida was in the butthole of America, Jacksonville, Florida. Because when I was in Jacksonville, Florida, I recognized within 4 days that I had made a grave mistake. And at that point, I fell into the routine. There are 3 places in Jacksonville that are worth going. Jack's Beach, Daly's Place, that's where all the shows and the concerts and stuff happen, and TIAA Bank, which is where the concerts and obviously the Jags played. And outside of that, that place sucked. No, I don't have anything against the University of North Florida, except they're in Jacksonville, the butthole of America, the worst place maybe in the entire United States. Let me get to some stuff real quick. Let me do some NBA. Let me just do a real quick story. I've been telling y'all for a hot minute, Devin Booker is a star. Devin Booker is a dude I've been calling for a minute. The most underappreciated player in the entire National Basketball Association. Devin Booker has had an unbelievable playoff series so far. Devin Booker continued that streak back in the last game, back on the 7th, by going 14 of 18 from the field in Phoenix's 129-124 win over the Denver Nuggets. Now, Nikolai Jokic came back and balled out in game number 5, and the Nuggets are now up 3-2. The Suns on the brink of elimination. They've got to win a couple back-to-back. And in this one, Devin Booker wasn't quite as good. He only went 8 of 19, 4 of 7 from deep, 8 of 9 from the stripe for a combined 28 to lead the Suns. Devin Booker, through 5 games, has scored more points in any 5-game playoff stretch than any other player in the history of the league, with the exception of one guy. A guy you may have heard of, a guy by the name of Michael bleeping Jordan. That's it. The only guy to score more in 5 consecutive playoff games was MJ. That's it.
What is Phoenix going to have to do to get over that hump?
Oh, we're going to come to that in a minute. But I got to get this part of the discussion in first, Brandon. We're going to break the games down in the next hour. Here's a part of the discussion I got to have. The National Basketball Association is getting dangerously close to a point that they don't want to be at. LeBron James is 39 years old, and it's starting to show a little bit. Now, he's still a fantastic player, but if you watch the last couple of games, as the Lakers are up 3-1 on as the Lakers are up 3-1 on Golden State and about to bounce them from a playoff defense, if you watch the last few games against Golden State, late in the game, LeBron has slowed down a little bit, and he's needed some help. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Lonnie Walker, the fourth, stepped up in the last game and provided that, putting 15 up in the fourth and effectively winning that game for LA. But LeBron James, not long for this association. I would suspect 2 more seasons. He will play probably next year, and then the year after that, because he has stated that his last career goal is going to be to play 1 year with his son, Bronny. If you missed the news, Bronny committed to USC. That would be the Southern Cal version. Alongside, just for bleeps and giggles, Dennis Rodman's kid as well. Anyway, Bron's going to do 1 more year in LA, and then he's going to do 1 year after that somewhere with Bronny. And then he's done. Steph Curry, arguably the other face of the league, is also got a few more years left in the bag, but Steph Curry is also entering the twilight of his career. Now, there are some superstars in the league. Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of those guys. And these are guys that are getting their play, getting their love on ESPN as well. Kevin Durant is not going to be forever in the league, etc. So the next step for the NBA is to be building the next generation of marketable superstars. Took me a long time to get to the point where I recognized that whether I like it or not, you have to market superstars to keep a league successful. Welcome to the content-driven era, ladies and gentlemen. If you want eyes on you, if you want eyes on your product, you must be constantly producing more content. It's true here on the broadcasting side. It's true for the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, etc. Now that's fine because the NBA's got stars. But they got to start focusing on the next generation. And on top of that, those stars have to be great. Not good, great. Devin Booker is in that number. Devin Booker is great. But here's the problem the NBA has. I was watching night before last, I think, and Chiney Ugwumake, who is a basketball analyst for ESPN, was talking about D-Book. She was talking about the series that he's having, which so far, despite the fact that the Suns are now on the brink against the Nuggets, and by the way, the Nuggets last night were vicious. Vicious. Cold-blooded. That series is over. Sorry. Denver is just on a different level right now. But Devin Booker's been good. Chiney said about Devin Booker's series, quote, "This playoff run, it feels like a star is born." Now, that's fine. Except for, no. That's like going outside, staring at the sun and going, man, that's bright. Who knew about that? We all did. Well, at least anybody with any awareness at all. Kevin Ray is the voice of the Phoenix Suns. He hit Chiney back on Twitter with, I realize 60% of the country is asleep by the time many of Devin Booker's games are played, but damn, come on, star is born? Please, he's been doing this for 3+ years. Do your homework. Ask his peers around the league. Yep. At Clutch23 said, LOL, what? He's been good. Yup. At No Way Jose 420, bro, said, quote, he's been a star. You guys are finally paying attention because KD is on the team. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's the problem. Because this guy is absolutely correct. Devin Booker has been doing this for a minute. Devin Booker has been killing it. for the Suns, and he's been doing it for 3 years now. But the problem is, because Phoenix is not an uber attractive team, they're not a big market. Phoenix is not considered a big market. It's considered a mid-market at best. Really a small market team. Because the NBA makes a critical mistake in that all they do is focus on the big markets. They focus on LA. They focus on Chicago. They focus on New York. They focus on Dallas. They focus on the big markets to the point that not only can they not create superstars in small markets, but when a superstar creates themselves in a small market, the small markets usually get a season or two before the rest of the nation starts clamoring for them to move to a big market team. Devin Booker's been doing this in the league for a while. This isn't new. This isn't a surprise to anybody who's been paying attention. The reason that people like Chiney are noticing it now is not because Book's doing anything different than he's done the last 3 years. He's not. He's been this dude the whole time. The reason they're doing it now is because Kevin Durant is there. Because Durantula, a guy that in his prime at Oklahoma City effectively got coerced into leaving. Where'd he go? Down to Houston, big market. He left Houston. Where'd he go? Brooklyn, big market. And the only reason he left Brooklyn is not because he wanted out of a big market. He left Brooklyn because that team is mismanaged as hell and imploded, destroying his chances to win a title.
They've always been a mismanaged team.
Sure.
Back when Jason Kidd played on the team.
The Nets imploded because their office is a joke and everybody wanted out. Kyrie wanted out. James Harden wanted out. Kevin Durant, everybody wanted out. And when KD wanted out, he went to the one place that was willing to pony up and pay him for effectively a rental. And that's Phoenix. But because KD was a big market superstar, and because there's drama surrounding KD, and this is a little bit on us, we got to be honest. We love some drama. We can all say we hate drama, but we all follow it. Because we love some drama, and because KD was a big market player, when he went to Phoenix, people started going, oh, can Phoenix do it? Can Phoenix get it done? Like Devin Booker hasn't taken the Phoenix Suns to the playoffs and deep to the playoffs multiple times. But because Kevin Durant is there, now people are paying attention. You could have been building Devin Booker as a bona fide superstar in the NBA for 3 seasons now. And he should have been. And I'm not talking about putting one of his layups in a commercial for a Tuesday night NBA on TNT game. I'm talking about Devin Booker should have been fronted as the next gen superstar for 3 years now. That's how good he's been. And you haven't done it. And you haven't done it because he's in a small market. So you're up at a point where LeBron's aging out, Steph Curry's aging out, Kevin Durant's a couple of years down the road, where this generation of marketable superstars are on their way out. Here's a cat you could have been pimping for 3 more years than you did. And the only reason you're doing it now is because Kevin Durant is there. Wasted opportunity, man. All I'll say is I am damn glad that the rest of the world is starting to see in Devin Booker what I've been telling you about Devin Booker for at least since I've gotten here. Let's take the top of the hour break, ladies and gentlemen. That's 1 in the books. Time flies when you're making Hall of Fame caliber radio, doesn't it? Well, man, Brandon filling in for the great one, Lonzo. I am Rob Brown. When we come back in the next hour of the show, we'll talk some Carolina Cats. A lot of Panthers news to break down. We'll get into that and more. Got some text to read from you guys as well. 71307. is the number. Start your text with FAN or call us on the Gilstrap Family Dealerships.com phone line at 844-326-3663. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Are the phone lines open? Okay. Open those up if you don't mind, please, and thank you.
I'm glad we're talking about them because people are about. I think what is the over/under for you for thinking for Bryce Young?
As far as starting, week 1.
I think he's week 3. You want me to add in the promo or anything?
Yeah, throw a 60 in there. Throw a Rob Brown Show 60 in there.
Okay.
Please and thank you.
James Gilstrap can't wait till Harden gets back to Houston. And then Kevin Hines, what's up, Rob? Who's the guest? My name is Brandon. I'm actually a producer. I'm filling in for Lonzo. The great one is not doing too hot right now with his leg. So I get the privilege of working with Rob. What about Trae Young? What do you think of him?
I love Trae. But Trae's got some work to do.
Yeah.
Trae gets some really exciting moments, but he's got some work to do. D-Book is, Brandon, our buddy Brandon, Atlanta guy, big Trae guy. And listen, there's some dudes that I genuinely love that aren't there yet. Trae Young is one of them. I love that cat. He's ice cold, but I need a more well-rounded game out of him first. D-Book has a very well-rounded game. He can shoot, he can score, he can pass, he can dribble, he can defend. Trae does not defend.
But the only Trae is good right now is scoring. He can score in a flurry, though.
And he's clutch when he does. He's clutch when he does. But I need you to be more than a clutch scorer down the line. I need you.
He needs to play defense.
Yeah, I need you defending. I need you assisting. I need you to be a point guard.
James. That 28-3 is getting really old.
Disagree. It will never get old.
Wait, when was the last Super Bowl y'all played in? What year was it?
Don't worry about it. When's the last one you played in? How'd that go?
Yeah. Did you hear that Mohamed Sanu might have come back to Atlanta?
No, I did not. How old is Mohamed Sanu?
I don't know, but he's.
It feels like he played when I was in middle school.
He's trying. He said he wants to come back and help the young.
I'm sure he does.
And then they're talking about Julio.
He is. Well, he's 33. He's not ancient, but
They're talking about Julio might come back to
is he not under contract still?
Atlanta. No, he's a free agent.
Really?
His injuries finally caught up to him. All of the New York teams, etc., Mets, Jets, Nets, are traditionally horribly mismanaged because the little brother complex is so severe and they're so desperate to steal the headlines that they make bad roster decisions. Yes, that is true.
All the Ets teams. I've never thought of calling any of them the Ets teams. That's beautiful.
Falcons fans since '92, and it does get old hearing that. I understand we suck losing that Super Bowl, but it's over. I'm overhearing it. I think he was a washout. I don't think he was that great of a wide receiver.
Sean Murphy hit a home run last night. No, sorry. Matt Olson hit a home run last night that I don't think's come down yet. Murphy's a monster. Olson is just
There's that one other player in Oakland. Atlanta's talking about trading Vaughn Grissom for.
Why not? Oakland's just giving away studs right now. And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. Our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show starts right this very second. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. How do you do, Upstate South Carolina? Hello, America. What's up, world? Great to be with you. I am Rob Brown, right on the other side of the metaphorical glass. For me today, filling in, playing the role of the great one, Lonzo today. My man Brandon's here. What's up, big fella?
Another day, man. Ready to get the show going. It's a beautiful day outside. No hailstorms.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
That was crazy last night. That was the worst one in 20 years.
I was at the house. The lady friend, the fiance, was on the way home from work. She called me. Like I said, she's been a little bit under the weather, so she called me. She's like, could you go get me some green tea and honey? I'm like, yep. And then she's in the car, and I just hear her go, what the hell? And I was like, what is happening? And she goes, something's hitting my car. And I was like, what do you, like another car? That seems bad.
Yeah.
And she said, no, it's hailing. And I was like, no, like a truck kicked out. And then I started seeing people saying, yeah, there was a hailstorm yesterday.
It was crazy. And it sat over Greenville for like 2 hours.
Yeah. Wild. But blue skies and beautiful. You know why it's blue skies and beautiful outside?
Why?
It's baseball day in Greenville, South Carolina.
Love it.
The drive.
Love baseball.
How about a little, you don't get this combination very often, but a little weekday afternoon baseball. 2 o'clock today, the drive are back at home, and I will be there.
Hopefully the drive turned it around. They started out good and they got a little slow again. Hopefully they're on the way up.
You know, one of the things that is very interesting for the Greenville Drive right now is they have got, first off, they've got a handful of like 1-run losses, right? It's not like they're getting the doors blown off of them. They've got a handful of 1-run losses.
Their bullpen, though.
They've got some spots they're working on improving. Let's just go with that. The drive yesterday coming off of an 8-7 L against the Winston-Salem Dash. They will look for revenge today. It is business downtown day. Can't wait. By the way, the drive did take, I think 5 out of 6 against Asheville in the last series. So it's not by any stretch of the imagination bad.
No.
There's just some spots that need to be cleaned up a little bit. And by the way, in case, ladies and gentlemen, you know, one of my favorite things in watching minor league baseball is keeping track of guys that have the potential to go big lead. Marcelo Meyer is the Boston Red Sox #1 recruit prospect.
He was
right
on
now.
ESPN the other day, too.
Yes, he was, and deserves to be. Dude is white hot right now. 3 of 6 the other night, included a home run, a double, and 5 RBIs in a 13-5 victory that ended their series against the Asheville Tourist. Marcelo Meyer is just in and of himself worth going to see play, because I'm going to go ahead and call the shot now.
They said he'll be up by July.
You're going to see that kid playing big league ball probably by the end of this year.
Yeah.
If not the end of this year, don't be shocked if he is the solution to the absence of Xander Bogaerts for Boston next year. He could be him.
And let's be honest, Boston does need a little bit of help up there right now. And this kid is playing red hot baseball right now. I think maybe even by the beginning of July, he is called up.
You can see it. They need it. Listen, Boston's got a few spots they need. They got a few spots that are okay, a few spots they need. Shortstop's one of them.
Mhm.
They've got to find somebody to plug in the shortstop, and Marcelo Myers is a candidate. Speaking of the Bo Sox, the Bo Sox got bumped yesterday by the Bravos 9-3 as the Braves moved to 25-11 on the season. And if, ladies and gentlemen, you're keeping track,
That's the best start since 1912 for the Braves.
it is. It is also the best record in the National League by a full 3 games at this point.
They are playing white hot. I mean, crazy baseball.
Good news for the Bravos at 25-11. Bad news for the Bravos is they are doing it out of the NL East, as there are exactly and precisely 0 other teams in the division that are even at 500 right now.
And didn't the Mets spend all that money for no reason?
17-19. Let me tell you, want to know what to me is the more fascinating fact here? The Braves have played 36 games. They've played 18 at home. They've played 18 on the road. The Braves' record at home is a winning one. They're 10-8.
Mm-hmm.
On the road, they're 15-3. They're playing better ball away than at home.
Which is crazy because have you been to Truist Park before?
I have. It's beautiful.
Love it. Oh my God, it's
Beautiful
so
ballpark.
gorgeous.
Truist Park has a really, really nice feel of being kind of right in between new age contemporary stadium with all the amenities and an old school classic ballpark layout.
Reminds me a little bit of Wrigley. When I went, I thought it was at Wrigley Field.
I get, it doesn't, so I haven't been to Wrigley yet.
Mhm.
I went to Fenway a couple of years back. Last year, actually. Was it last year? Yeah, I think last year I went to Fenway. One of the greatest experiences of my life.
Oh yeah, I've
Right.
heard so many great things about. That's on my bucket list.
Fenway should go to the top of the list. I went to Fenway. We had a vacation scheduled to go to Boston, New York, Connecticut, back to Boston. And the first day we were in Boston, the now fiance, and this is part of the reason she is a now fiance, surprised me with tickets to see Yankees Red Sox at Fenway, sitting first base about 20 rows up.
Heaven.
And not only that, but when we walked in, she picked the tunnel that dropped us into Fenway directly across from the Monster. So the first thing I saw was the Monster.
Ooh,
I had goosebumps, dude. I about cried. It was
I would cry.
unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
it's okay to be a grown man crying.
And I don't care at all. Judge away. Fenway and Truist are obviously different feels. Like I think they did a great job with Truist in giving it good demand. Like one thing I will say about Fenway, and again, it was an incredible experience. And that ballpark is one of my favorite sports places I've ever been. But it's cramped, man. Like it's a cramped stadium. They built that stadium in, 1520 or whatever it was. They built that stadium before the Pilgrims showed up. It's cramped. It's small. The seats are very small. I was going to say a big boy. I'm fat. All right. Stadium's not really meant for fat guys. That's why everybody in the Northeast is in shape, because otherwise you can't go to games. It's cramped. It's a small stadium, but there's so much history there that you don't care. You just breathe in. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Truist is a much more open ballpark, but it is an open ballpark that still maintains a classic ballpark feel.
Yep.
Like the stadium seats go up and look down, so you're not 200 yards off the foul line. You're right on it, even if you're in the upper deck. I think it's a great stadium.
Did you ever go to the TED?
I did go to, actually been to the TED. I went to Fulton County back in the day.
Yes, I remember Fulton County. One caught on fire too.
Yes, I've been at, by the way, the one game I went to last year at Truist, somebody pulled a fire alarm.
Oh my
It's like a
goodness.
45-minute delay. Worst part isn't the delay. The worst part was that siren going off the whole time. All right. Anyway, Bravos find themselves 25-11. Best record in the National League, second best record in baseball, and the only team that has got a better record active than them right now is the Tampa Rays, who are currently at 29-8. Now, there's two reasons for that, for their record. The first reason is that the Rays are a good ball club. Wander Franco, by the way, if you didn't see his ball flip last week, smooth, my guy. Took a routine grounder at short, popped the ball up out of the glove,
Caught it,
popped it up to himself, caught it, set it, tossed it, got the out. One of my favorite things in baseball is watching old baseball fans get agitated by young kids having fun.
Hello, you're supposed to have fun. It's a game.
I loved watching the old hats get mad at him for putting the style points out there. My thought would be, they'd be mad at him if he didn't get the out, right?
Yeah.
Get mad at him if his team wasn't 29-8, 19-3 at home, 10-5 on the road. Be mad at him if the Rays weren't the best team in baseball. But you've also got Randy Arozarena. That meme mug is my favorite thing happening in baseball right now. Even with the injuries, that staff has been aces so far this year. I love this team. They're a fun team. They're young. They're energetic. They're exciting. They're all gas, no break, and I'm here for it. But I think it's also fair to point out that the Rays have also had the easiest schedule in baseball so far.
Yeah, then they play like, what was it, the Guardians or whatever?
Yep. The Rays have had the easiest schedule. April was nothing for them. The majority of the teams that they played, with a couple of exceptions, have just been not great teams. Detroit, Washington, Oakland, Boston, 3-gamer against the decent Toronto team. Cincinnati, the White Sox, a 3-gamer against Houston. By the way, they dropped 2 of the 3. Now, Houston is Houston has massively come back to the pack. They are now sub 500.
Back to the way they used to be.
Because 2 weeks ago, Houston looked like they were a World Series team.
But didn't they say Houston is back to they're like the worst they've been since before they joined the AL?
I don't know how long it's been, but the Astros are currently at 500 after a win yesterday and tied for third in the AL West, which is not a great division.
No.
The Rangers are leading it right now. They had a 3-gamer against a 4-gamer against the White Sox, who were terrible. 3 against Pittsburgh. They had 3 against New York, but this was at a point in time where Aaron Judge was not in the lineup, so the big bats weren't there. And they are currently in the midst of a 3-gamer against the Baltimore Orioles, who dropped 2 out of 3 against the Braves last week. I'm not saying the Rays aren't good. The Rays are very good. Again, I don't care if you only play the Oakland Athletics. To get to 29-8 is freaking impressive. But they got to 29-8 against the easiest easiest March and April schedule of any team in baseball. Now we're going to see if they get caught a little bit. All of a sudden, the Baltimore Orioles are 23-13, 5.5 off. The Jays are 21-15.
But the Jays are very inconsistent.
The Jays are inconsistent, but I think that is something that gets worked out with time, because they did this last year too. They started off inconsistent, and then about a quarter of the way through the season, the bats woke up, Batista and the Jays started slamming, and then the next thing you know, they're threatening the Yanks for the AL East. By the way, speaking of the Yankees, the worst team in the American League East right now is 20-17 and has been injured as much, if not more, than Atlanta, who has been struggling with the injury bug this year. The AL Beast worst team, the Yankees, would be the AL Central's leader, and they would be second in the AL West right now.
Did you see there's an investor wanting to move the Rays to Orlando? He's building a $3 billion baseball stadium right now.
Is he building the stadium for the Rays, or is he I think he's hoping
he wants
to be in
to bring
on the
one
expansion talk.
He wants. They're talking about the expansion because Orlando, Charlotte, Nashville have all been mentioned in this, but he wants the Rays to come to Orlando.
The Rays aren't moving.
No,
the Rays aren't moving right now. They're 100 miles from St. Pete. Listen, the Trop
Have you been to that stadium?
It sucks.
It's terrible.
It sucks.
It's so antiquated.
The Trop is saved only by the cesspool that is the Oakland Coliseum from being called the worst ball stadium in America. It's trash. It's hot garbage. Here's what's interesting. Talked about this on the show a little bit a couple of weeks ago. The Oakland A's, we obviously now know are moving to Vegas. So the A's bought property in Las Vegas. They're moving to Vegas probably, I believe, 2025. So when the A's moved to Vegas in 2025, that is step one. Step two is expansion. And baseball is likely going to add 2 teams. And there's been a lot of discussion about where those 2 teams are going to go. The leading candidates, words are hard. The leading candidates domestically are Nashville, Tennessee, Charlotte, North Carolina, and now it looks like, if this stadium has any weight to it, Orlando, Florida. But let me throw a bit of a spoiler in there, all right? Charlotte's a decent sell. Nashville, what's that?
Truist Field in Charlotte's beautiful.
It is, but it's not an MLB stadium.
No, it's not.
Charlotte would need to build a stadium. So would Nashville, so would Orlando. Nashville will be the clubhouse leader based on what the Predators did the last couple of years.
And if you've been to a Preds game, oh my goodness, it is incredible.
It's unreal.
Yes, it is unlike any place I have ever been.
Nashville will be the clubhouse leader for a domestic expansion team in Major League Baseball because of what the Predators have done and because of an incredible sports environment in Nashville. Baseball is trying to bring excitement back to the league. It is trying to get young kids to buy into the game. And Nashville and the attitude and the atmosphere that they have built around the Predators and the Titans would go a long way. But, spoiler alert, if there's a domestic club, there will only be one of them. Calling the shot now. Baseball's next round of expansion is going international. You are going to get a team likely in either Mexico or Canada. Canada has been clamoring to get the Expos back since they became the Nationals 100 years ago.
Ugh.
That's dramatic. Since the Expos became the Nationals, however many years ago it was. But Mexico City has got a lot of push as the next international professional destination. That is why last weekend you saw the Padres and the Giants play a multi-game series in Mexico City. That wasn't just for fun. That wasn't just to play some that wasn't just to play some international baseball. They played that series down in Mexico City as a tryout for Mexico City. They know what baseball in Montreal looks like. Yes, it's been a handful of years since it's happened, but you know you're going to have some pretty good support if you bring back a team to Montreal, whether you call them the Expos or not. Mexico City was a tryout. Mexico City, much like the NFL playing games in Europe, and we're going to come to that in the next segment, Mexico City was a tryout for Major League Baseball. Can we successfully pull off games there? Will the Mexicans in Mexico City embrace teams, show up, and really get into it? And the answer is, oh yeah, they did. And not only did they, it was a fire environment. Doesn't hurt the fact that in game one, the Dodgers and the Giants combined for about 13,000 home runs in a couple of games. It worked. It worked. When Vegas gets their team out of Oakland, an expansion happens, which is the next target for Major League Baseball. You will likely get one club domestically. Nashville's my prediction, though that's not a guarantee. And you are going to get an international club. I think it'd be great to put it in Montreal. I think it'd be great to give the fans the Expos or whatever they're going to call them back. But Mexico City put together a wonderful environment. And if they can get the handshake agreement done with the Mexican government, do not be surprised to see Mexico City land the first international Major League Baseball team since the Expos left Canada. Yes, I know Toronto has a team. I meant new. You know what I meant. Shut up. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Okay. All right, guys, got a live read coming up. Stay right there. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right, we're back, dudes and dudettes. Thanks for hanging out. That's a fact. That crowd was lit, dude. It was good. It was good. The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. We now know, speaking of international professional sports based out of the United States, we now know our NFL schedule. At least the one that is taking place in Europe, because the NFL released its international series locations, games, and dates earlier this morning. It will open on October 1st, a very early morning for Brandon and Brandon, the show's Falcons fans, because the Falcons will be on the road in Wembley Stadium taking on Trevor Lawrence and his Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh, that's going to be a good game.
Bright and early, baby.
Yep.
Yes, can't wait for that big Desmond Ridder v. Trevor Lawrence showdown.
So, I've been a fan
Jags by
since
50.
Yeah, I've been a fan since 92, but I think the Falcons lose.
Yeah, me too. Here's the fun thing about Falcons v. Jaguars. The Falcons will get on a plane to come back home after that. The Jags won't, because they're running another game 7 days later on the other side of London at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when they host Josh Allen, and his Buffalo Bills.
That's in Germany?
No, that's in London as well.
Oh, wow.
The Jags are playing 2 in London this year. They were supposed to do it back in 2020. However, we all got a little busy back in 2020 doing nothing at all but watching football without fans due to the pandemic. The international series was canceled. So Jacksonville will make good on the 2-gamer in London, which is not the topic of this segment, but I'm going to say it anyway. Just further proof that the NFL is moving a team to London. That's not a question to me anymore. That is not a prediction. That's a spoiler. The NFL's moving a team to London, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Shad Khan is taking the Jags to jolly old England.
And he's even come out and said he does not like having the team in Jacksonville.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he said that before.
You know why? Because Jacksonville sucks. All right?
You say it's the butthole of America?
It sucks. It is the worst place. So the Jags are going to move to London. And the fact the Jags are the only team that are playing 2 games in the same year in London is further proof of that. Now, the Jags do have a little incentive in this. Because of the fact that they are playing 2 in London, they reached an agreement with the National Football League to be exclusively responsible for this game, which means that the Jags 2 games are being run by the Jags, which also means the Jags will keep all the profit from these 2 games. So while these are roadies and these are taking place over in London, these games will be run by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, why would Jacksonville be willing to do this? Is it a good idea to send your National Football League team to play back-to-back roadies, even though you'll be listed as the home team in one of them, on the other side of the pond for 2 gates, for the revenue of tickets sold for these 2 games? No, not at all. The reason that agreement got reached by the National Football League is so that the Jags could learn how to run a game in London. Why would they need to run a game in London? Why would they need to go through that experiment? Because the Jags are going to be the London Jaguars or something. The Beefeaters, the
Silly
Towers.
Nannies. Remember the Silly Nannies?
Yeah, whatever they're going to be called. Please name them that. Within the next 3 years, The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be the Jacksonville Beef Eaters or the Jacksonville Towers or the Jacksonville Blood Sausages or whatever they're going to call them. The Jaguars are taking over a contract to run 2 games in London because the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to London. It has been Shad Khan's goal, I think, since he bought the team. It has been the NFL's goal to expand into London, and here's the deal. Jacksonville, aside from being the worst city in America, if the team is pedestrian, Jaguars fans don't show up. I've been there when the team was bad. In fact, in 2018, 19, whatever year it was that I was there, I've forgotten, blanked it from my memory. The Saints played a game at Jacksonville. The little brother and the madre came over. We went to that game. I bought 3 tickets to that game for like $60.
Wow, that's like giving it away.
Yeah. When they are bad, all right? When they are bad, Jacksonville doesn't show up. Now, Jacksonville has a total population. Now, this does not include the metro, but as somebody who lived there, regrettably so. Jacksonville's a big city in terms of population. Downtown Jacksonville has a population of less than 1 million. It's like 950-something thousand people that live in downtown Jacksonville. If you include the surrounding metro, it goes up over 1.5 million, except for everything in Jacksonville is 30 minutes away from everything else. Town center is kind of like the retail shopping district.
Mhm.
It is like 27 minutes from Jack's Beach. Jack's Beach is like 30 minutes from downtown. It's a very spread out place.
That's kind of like Atlanta. Everything inside Atlanta is always an hour out.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're downtown Atlanta, there's stuff to do.
Yeah.
There's nothing in downtown Jacksonville. It is a football stadium. It is a concert venue. And then it is like 30 soulless, entertainmentless, funless skyscrapers, and that's it.
Okay.
That's it. There's nothing there. I can go to downtown Atlanta and enjoy myself and entertain myself all day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You go to downtown Jacksonville, the only entertainment is whatever you're listening to in the radio when you're leaving downtown Jacksonville. That's it.
Wow.
So Jacksonville, with its population, its metro population of 954,000, does not compare to the London population of 8.9 million.
More money for the Jaguars, basically.
Yeah. If the team doesn't suck in Jacksonville, the fans show up. But if the team's mediocre, they don't. And they've had a really long time to experiment with that.
Mm-hmm.
The Jags got good when Trevor showed up. Now, all of a sudden, Jags fans come out in force. In London, you'll never have to worry about that. There's 8.9 million people in London. You can find 70,000 bored on a Sunday morning or afternoon or night who want to come to an NFL football game. Shad Khan, remember, also owns stake in a Premier League team in London. This would effectively be streamlining his sports interest all into one city. Jacksonville's got 2 games in London so that they can learn how to run games in London so that in 2 or 3 years, they can move to London. October 15th, the Ravens and the Titans will play at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London as well. That will be followed up by 2 games in Frankfurt, Germany at Frankfurt Stadium. Now, we've had games in the past in Frankfurt, but we've had 1 in Munich and 1 in Frankfurt. This year, Frankfurt gets 2. On November 5th, the Dolphins and the Chiefs will play. Tyreek versus Patrick Mahomes. Sign me up. And then November 12th, the Colts and the Patriots are going to be there, both of those in Frankfurt. This does something else for me as well. This leads me to believe, because remember, the NFL established a corporate entity in Europe. It is called NFL Europe. Very creative name. I called my show The Rob Brown Show. I'm no one to judge. Last year, the game at Frankfurt was exceptional. It was a great game. It was a great environment. That was the game, if you were listening to the show at the time, that you will remember, was when the German fans broke into like a 7-minute public rendition of Take Me Home Country Roads by John Denver. It was amazing. The fact that Munich did not get a game this year and Frankfurt got 2 means one of two things. Either A, Munich didn't have the time or space available, but I doubt that because they have every other year. Or the NFL is looking at moving 2 teams to Europe, and Frankfurt has jumped out as the next leading favorite to get one. My theory is, was, and has been that the National Football League is not moving a team to Europe. The National Football League is moving an entire division of teams to Europe. Now, I suspect some of that will come from expansion. I suspect we will have further expansion of the league and a reorganization of divisions sometime, probably a little bit longer time scale than baseball, but sometime in the next decade.
Why did they get rid of NFL Europa?
Because it wasn't good. People weren't watching. The way that you get people interested in the game is not by sending them a league full of guys who weren't good enough to make the league. The way you get them in the league is you send them the league. So you put a team in London, you put a team in Frankfurt, you put a team in Paris, and you put a team in, I don't know, Amsterdam. You call them the Red Lights. I don't know. But you put 4 teams there, and you have a division. Now, Jacksonville is going to London. That one I'm 90% confident of. My question after that is, do you do 3 expansion teams? In which case, keep in mind, you've got a odd number for divisions. Could the NFL follow what the ACC is doing and scrap divisions as a whole, right? Instead of having divisions, we take the best 18 out of 35 teams and you seed them 1 through 18, and you just do a bracket, a March Madness style bracket, right? Top 4 teams, record-wise, get a bye. Everybody else is playing a bracket. Top 4 teams get introduced in round 2. I don't know. Do you take 3 other currently existing teams and move them? I don't know. I don't know what teams those might be. We've seen St. Louis move and become LA. We saw Oakland move and become Vegas. We've seen a handful of NFL teams move. We saw the Saints almost move to become either San Antonio or Oklahoma City. Teams will move if the money's right. Could the NFL subsidize some of the owners? Hey, if you'll move your team to Frankfurt, we'll give you $1 billion. Billionaires care more about money than they care about their fans. Could it be subsidized? I don't know. But my theory has been that the NFL will not have a team in Europe. The NFL will have multiple teams in Europe, the equivalent of a full division. I don't know if it stays with the current setup where there's a division of 4 teams and they all play each other and you got teams from the United States flying over there and they fly back here or whatever. I don't know. But Europe, as the sports world becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. We are more connected now with English Premier League soccer than we ever have been. You can go home today from work and at 2:00 turn on your television and NBC is going to have a Premier League football game on or NBC Sportsnet or whatever channel it's on. The world is becoming smaller and more connected. Sports is no different. And the NFL sees a revenue windfall of potential fans in Europe that have never been tapped before. By the way, I wouldn't be shocked to see an EPL team in the United States sometime in the future too, but that's down the road dramatically. London's getting the Jags. Frankfurt's lining up to put their name in the arena as well. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than you think. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We will wrap up the second hour of the radio broadcast. We got some college sports we need to get into, a little more NBA, maybe talk a little Carolina Hurricane hockey and more. All that's coming up on the Rob Brown Show. All that's coming up on the Fan Upstate. All right. All right, guys, got another live read coming up. Stay right All right, dudes and dudettes, we're back. Make the Triumph the EPL team for North America. That would. We're not letting go of that, are we, America?
I heard the Triumph games are pretty cool.
They're a blast, man. You should come. They're a lot of fun. They're a blast. The Rob Brown Show rolls on, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Fan Upstate. Talk a little hockey real quick here since we are on the way out for hour number 2. How about the Hurricanes of Carolina? They are now up 3-1 in this series over the New Jersey Devils after they rout the team from Joyce 6-1 last night. Jersey got up early. They went up 1-0 in the first period. And I'm not going to lie. I am rooting for the Hurricanes in this series. My Preds are out. The Canes are in. After they won the opening round series over the Islanders, I was like, man, they're good, but I don't know if they're good enough. And after Jersey won their series and they put some goals up, I was like, this is going to be a real tough series.
But didn't they go 7 games that series?
Yes, they did. It was a hell of a series, too, against the Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Hell of a series. I thought Jersey, especially when you started seeing Carolina have to rotate goaltenders due to injuries. Raanta got sick. He had to miss game 3. And in that game, Jersey poured it on. 8-4, your final in that one. I was like, oh, man. It's one of the you've heard the joke before of a team going down 0-2 and having the other team exactly where they want them.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of felt like that. After the rout, I was like, uh-oh. Jersey just needed to bide their time, wear the Canes down. But then the Canes just snapped last night, man. Just snapped last night. Jordan Martinook had a goal and 2 assists. The Canes scored 5 times in a 6-minute stretch.
Wow.
They just lit on fire. The first one was from Martin Necas, who hit a bouncing puck out of the air and redirected it. Now, I've never played ice hockey, not once. I've been on an ice hockey rink. I've knocked the puck around with a stick a little bit. It's not easy. It's not easy to get a good wrister or a good slap shot when the puck's sitting pretty on the ice for you. It is much more difficult when the puck is moving at you at a rapid pace, as it tends to do in the National Hockey League. Those guys are pretty good. But to deflect a rapidly moving puck that is skipping up and down on the ice is unbelievable. Necas did it not once, but twice back-to-back to put the Canes up 2-1, and then it was just all over at that point.
I think New Jersey's tired, though, from that 7-game series against the Rangers.
They might be, but coming out of game 3, it was yeah, they look fatigued, but they also have all the momentum, or at least it felt like they did. An 8-4 win in front of your home crowd can give you a bit of a spark. And I thought Jersey found that spark. I was like, this is going 7. The phrase that I love is a 7-game series is not over until a home team loses. Carolina didn't make New Jersey lose. Carolina went into their house and punched them in the nose,
Mhm.
and Jersey just could not respond.
Carolina's on fire.
Listen, let's not pretend that they didn't lose a game 8-4 3 days before that, because they did. They got smoked, or 2 days before that. They got smoked. But the mark of a good team isn't that they never lose like that. The mark of a good team is they can take a shot to the face and then come back from it, right? I look at Boston. The Bruins back in game 1 against another team that I'm rooting for, the Florida Panthers. The Bruins lost the game to Florida in that series. And man, I know this sounds like oversimplified and sophomoric, elementary maybe, but you could see it on the faces of the Bruins that they didn't know what the hell to do. And why would they? They didn't lose very much this year. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to respond to the Florida Panthers. And they ended up losing the series in 7 because when it came down, when it came time to grow some stones and play clutch hockey, Boston didn't know what to do. Florida, on the other hand, has been a team with their back against the wall all year long. Last 2 weeks of the season, Florida was playing for their playoff lives. They didn't just know how to play with their backs against the wall. It was the only way they knew how to play, and they got it done. Jersey going 7 and then winning that game 8-4. I'm like, okay, this team knows how to play with their back against the wall, and their back's against the wall down 2-0. The Canes were just fine. The Canes were just fine. It was unbelievable. So I got to tell you, I really hope that we end up with the Carolina Canes in the Stanley Cup, mainly and predominantly because it means that I'll get to talk a lot more hockey. Please give me Florida v. Carolina in the conference finals. Please get. Now, Florida's up 3-0 on Toronto. Toronto, who hasn't been to the second round of the playoffs since like 1732. They were chanting on their way out after knocking off the Lightning, we want Florida. Well, they got them, and they're down 3-0 to them. Carolina now up 3-1 on the Devils. Please give me a Florida v. Carolina Eastern Conference Finals, because that'll be a blast, dude. A blast. Stars and Kraken tied up at 2 apiece. Edmonton v. Vegas. The Knights are up 2-1. They'll get their game 4 going tonight. Stanley Cup playoffs are the best, man. Stanley Cup playoffs are my second favorite postseason in sports, behind only the college baseball playoffs. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Hour number 3 is around the corner. Don't go anywhere. My name is Rob Brown. My man Brandon filling in for the great one, Lonzo. We are back after this, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. The President's Trophy curse is real. It really is, dude. All right. I will be right back, guys. Got to run and grab something from the office. Don't go anywhere. I went down to Tampa the second year of the Lightning's existence, and it sucked, man. Like, they weren't good at the time, but, like, there were maybe 5,000 people in there, maybe. We literally, like, usually hear this as a joke. We literally picked tickets up off the ground outside. Like, the scalpers just quit. So we went, and it was my first NHL experience, and I was just like, I was underwhelmed. In fact, it put me off of being a hockey fan for a couple of years. I grew up a Red Wings fan only because my babysitter, Miss Angela, was a Red Wings fan. And whenever she would babysit me, if the Red Wings were on TV, I got to stay up late and watch them. And also, like every other man, I had a crush on my babysitter. Anyway, I grew up a Red Wings fan, and then I just kind of fell out of hockey. And then about 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I went to a Predators game in Nash Vegas, and it blew my mind, dude. Like, it was like a college football game environment, and then I watched hockey. Nashville's great. Nashville's one of America's underappreciated cities. But I went to a Nashville game. I had a ball. I had a buddy of mine who worked for the marketing team for the Preds, and he invited me to a game and put me up in the president's box. I got to meet the owner. I was in the box next to the offensive line from the Tennessee Titans, who were funneling beers through a dead catfish. Like, they would hold the catfish up to their mouth, and then they would have beers poured into both gills and chug them, taking off their shirts. Like, it was always so much fun. And then I was like, okay, hockey's good. Now, Pensacola had a minor league team, an ECHL team that I had gone to in Pensacola for years, but that was really just like something. It's fun, but it's just something to do. I didn't really love hockey. And because of the Preds, now I love it.
I lived in Tampa, and the Thrashers are gone.
Yep.
So I was like, I need a team to cheer for. So I went to Amlin Arena, watched Lightning, and I had a blast. And I've cheered him on since. And I still think he is one of the best goalies in the entire league, Andrzej Vasilevskiy. But
Vasilevskiy was a player, man.
I was bummed that they lost to the Maple Leafs, but the Maple Leafs are going to get swept out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Your money into itself. A Navien only heats water when you need it heated. The rest of the time, you're just saving the bucks. Put new life into your hot water. Visit TablesMadeSimple.com today and check out Navien's strong warranty too. Water, heat it only when you need it with Navien.
And check this out. For an official Rob Brown Rundown. Represents me a win. Yeah. Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. Lockdown. This is the Rob Brown Show. Yeah. Only on
The Fan Upstate.
The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. How do you do, Upstate South Carolina? Hello, America. What up, world? Great to be with you. 58 more minutes of broadcast excellence coming your way starting right this very second. Going to break down some NBA games and series here in just a minute from right now. We've got a handful of other things that I want to get to before the end of the radio broadcast. So let us dive straight in. Let's talk Panthers for just a second. I got a couple of things I want to bounce off of you. I'm going to start with this. Carolina Panther cornerback. Do your job, Rob. Carolina Panther cornerback J.C. Horn is good. We know that. We've talked about that in the past. Well, Jason McCourty, who is making his second appearance on the show since the NFL draft, by the way, is a current member of the Good Morning Football crew. Jason McCourty was on television the other day and said, and I quote, "I think this is a guy who has an opportunity to showcase his talents. He's extremely good, but he hasn't been on the field a lot, only 16 games in the last 2 seasons. He'll get an opportunity with a lot more eyeballs in Carolina this year because of this addition of Bryce Young, or because of the addition of Bryce Young to the city and to that franchise. 6'1", 200 pounds. This guy's an absolute baller. He just needs to remain out there on the field and showcase what he can do. So I'm looking forward to watching J.C. Horn in some primetime games this year, matched up against some of your favorite number one wide receivers in the league, end quote. For the second time this show, I'm going to say you shouldn't be surprised by this. This shouldn't be something that's front page news. It shouldn't be something that is front page news because Rob Brown's been telling you this for 2 seasons. Amari Cooper has been targeted 3 times lined up against J.C. Horn. Amari Cooper has 8 yards. Chris Olave was in contention for NFC Rookie of the Year on the offensive side of the football last year for the Saints. Now, granted, Andy Dalton was his quarterback. Chris Olave has been targeted a grand total, without Michael Thomas, by the way, of twice against J.C. Horn. He has 0 catches for 0 yards. Marquise Hollywood Brown, 1 target, 0 catches, 0 yards. Deebo Samuel, y'all familiar? That's a Gamecock v. Gamecock matchup. 2 targets, 0 receptions, 0 yards. Tyler Lockett has been matched up with J.C. Horn. He has 2 snags and 17 total yards. In fact, the only wide receiver in the National Football League who has had success against J.C. Horn is DK Metcalf. 6 targets, 3 grabs for 49 yards, most of them on 1 big reception. But remember, DK Metcalf is a freak of nature. He is bigger than most wide receivers, and he is dramatically stronger than most wide receivers. J.C. Horn's only weakness are big, tall, strong wide receivers. And when I say big, tall, and strong, I'm not talking about big, tall, and strong. I'm talking about DK Metcalf. Like, that's the list at this point. Now, that is one of the reasons that I am very interested in the new wide receiver added to the locker room, Jonathan Mingo out of Ole Miss, because he is DK Metcalf-like. He's not as tall. He goes 6'2", but he's 220 pounds, and he's built like a brick boathouse. The dude's thick with a couple of C's on the end. Anybody who has listened to the show for more than 10 minutes when we've talked Panthers is very, very aware of just how good J.C. Horn is. This shouldn't be news. This shouldn't be news as well. Now, it's going to be a prove-it year for J.C. Horn because we know who's coming up on the schedule. We don't know when yet. We'll find out tomorrow night. But he's going to get matched up this year against Justin Jefferson. He's going to get matched up this year against Mike Evans. He's going to get matched up this year against CeeDee Lamb. He's going to get matched up this year against Tyreek Hill. He's going to get matched up this year against Jalen Waddle. He's going to get matched up against Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he's going to get matched up maybe in week 1 against a guy named DJ Moore. That would be former Panther turned Chicago
Former
Bear,
teammate.
DJ Moore. J.C. Horn is not taking this particular radio host by surprise. I've been telling you he's been good. This guy is Pro Bowl caliber. He's going to get to prove it this year. That list of wide receivers, Jefferson, Evans, Lamb, Hill, Waddle, St. Brown, Moore, that's a murderer's row of number 1 wide receivers, and J.C. Horn is going to get matched up on all of them. And he's going to be just fine. He is that dude. He's got every skill set. In fact, the only thing that he lacks is the ability to win jump balls over guys like DK Metcalf.
But let's be honest, though, it's DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf, by the way, is 6'5" and has the legs to jump out of an NFL stadium. All right? You know what quarterback can win jump balls against DK Metcalf?
None.
None. Not a one. He's that good. It's the only guy who's had success against JC. Now, it's going to be interesting. Michael Thomas is likely going to be available for New Orleans. Slant God is going to be back. Slant God's a guy that can go up and win a jump ball. Does Derek Carr take advantage of that against J.C. Horn? We're going to find out. And again, teams that have a solid 3 wide receiver core become very dangerous. That is one of the reasons that today, though it might change, we'll see what Bryce Young brings to the table. One of the reasons the New Orleans Saints are right now the Las Vegas odds-on favorite to win the NFC South is the fact that they are 3 deep at the wide receiver core.
And they got Derek Carr.
And they got Derek Carr, who, again, today is the best quarterback in the NFC South.
Yes.
So we'll see.
He's also the most experienced.
Without a doubt. So we'll see where that goes. Speaking of Bryce Young and, well, Andy Dalton, Scott Fitterer came out the other day. He did a little press conference. Scott Fitterer said that regarding the timeline to make Bryce Young QB1, there's not one. He said, quote, "We're going to rely on our coaches, Jim Caldwell, Frank Reich, Thomas Brown, to decide when it's right. We don't have a timeline. We're not saying, hey, this guy's going to start the first game or we're not going to play him at all this year. When the time is right, or we feel like he's got enough of a mastery of the offense where he can go out there and operate and this can be successful, that's when he'll be out there. We went out and signed Andy Dalton for a reason. He played as a rookie. He's got a lot of experience. He understands his role, and he can play good football. If Andy's the guy to start the season, and he's the starter right now heading into the season, then he'll be the guy. When Bryce is ready or Matt Corral is ready, whoever it may be, that'll be the time they go in. We say it's open competition, but Frank did say, hey, Andy, he's our guy right now. He'll walk into the season as the starter, and then, as you know, the young guys compete underneath him. Then they'll go in when they're ready. As specifically about Bryce Young, Frank Reich said he'll have to earn it. Obviously, that's the way it should be. We'll know when the time is right. He's got enough going on right now. I just want him to come in and learn the offense and not have to worry about stepping into the limelight. Just come in, learn the offense, get to know these guys. When we step out onto the field the first time, he'll be in that number 2 spot, end quote.
Carolina didn't waste the number 1 pick for him to sit on the bench, though.
I don't disagree, but you don't want to burn him out either.
I think the over-under is he'll be about week 3. He'll be the starter.
I think week 3 is fair unless one of 2 things happens. I think people forget, Brandon, that Andy Dalton was 1 game away from winning the division and making the playoffs last year, right? And as a Saints fan, I can tell you 2 things. Number 1, if Mike Thomas is healthy last year, New Orleans wins that division by 2 games. He was 2 games worth of difference. Olave was great, but he was not ready to be the primary wide receiver. If Mike Thomas is out there, the Saints are probably a 9-win team, maybe 10, and they win that division. Andy Dalton's in the playoffs as a starter. Second thing I would point out is you don't want to burn out BY. And you have, based on what I just said, one very good advantage in Carolina that CJ Stroud does not have in Houston. The division should be better this year. It will not be good. It'll be better. You're not going to have 3 12-win teams in this division.
No.
You're going to have maybe 1 10-win team. You might have a division where nobody gets to 10 wins again. Tampa Bay.
I think they fall off the rocker.
Tampa Bay is starting Baker Mayfield. Now, there is a little part of me that still thinks Baker Mayfield could be good. I still think Baker Mayfield caught a very raw deal in Carolina under Matt Rule. I think Baker Mayfield caught a very raw deal under Carolina under Matt Rule. I think when Matt Rule got let go, there was never a world in which Baker Mayfield was going to get an opportunity to go back out there and prove that under a different offense he could thrive. There is a small part of me that still thinks Baker Mayfield might have a shot. The problem is Bruce Arians is not in Tampa to coach him up. He is going in under Todd Bowles, a defensive-minded coach who wants to bring that defensive mentality back to Tampa Bay. It's not going to be an easy run for Bake. I don't believe in Tampa. Atlanta, all due respect.
Atlanta has improved drastically with free agency and the draft, but by like 1 or 2 wins, though.
I believe that you believe that. Bijan Robinson might be him. He might be that guy. Bijan Robinson is, as of today, the shortest bet in Vegas to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
I can see that.
Sure. Here's the problem that I don't think people are taking into consideration. Who's your starting quarterback today?
Desmond Ritter.
How'd he do last year when he got the opportunity to start?
2-2.
A lucky 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
A very lucky 2-2.
Do I think Desmond Ritter is the answer? No, I don't think he is. I think we're going to have another quarterback. I just think I think the offense is built for him, but I don't think he's the answer.
Good. Which brings me to my next point. If I'm not scared of your quarterback, and I'm not, what does that allow me to do?
Can run all over them.
I'm throwing everybody in the box.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going man out there, one over the top single high safety coverage, and everybody else is in the box.
Mm-hmm.
And I am telling every one of them, kill the guy with the football. Find that guy, smoke that guy. It's not that Bijan Robinson isn't a raw talent. He is. He might be the best running back talent since
Ezekiel Elliott.
maybe. The problem isn't what Bijan Robinson can or can't do. The problem is the fact that nobody's afraid of Atlanta's passing game, and they don't have any reason to be.
We don't have a wide receiver, really.
You don't have a receiver, and even if you did, you don't have a quarterback to get it to him.
Yeah.
I'm putting 8 in the box, a single high safety, man-to-man on the outside. Whoever's lined up on the tight end, smoke him at the line of scrimmage, and just go find Bijan and take him down. Bijan Robinson is not a good bet for Rookie of the Year. Not because he's not talented enough to win it. He's not a good bet for Rookie of the Year because everybody in this division has a good defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints is aging, but it's good.
Atlanta took a lot of the Saints' good players.
Sure did. Carolina's got Shy Tuttle, who did good things for New Orleans. But New Orleans, remember, drafted heavy and picked up free agents along the defensive line. They're going to be fine. Carolina's defensive line, even though it's going to be a 3-4 this year, is stacked. The interior of that line with Derek Brown is not going to be an easy one to run on, especially considering they, again, upgraded the linebacker core, and a linebacking core in a 3-4 that has the lateral speed, especially with a guy like Frankie Louvu backing him up, is not going to be an easy team to run on. And if Tampa Bay is going to get credit for anything under Todd Bowles, it's going to be the fact that their defensive front seven are going to be vicious. Right?
I think Todd Bowles, this is his last season. I don't think they're going to be that good.
I do too. I think Tampa's going to suck this year.
Yeah.
I do. I think they're going to be bad this year.
I think there may be a 6-win team.
But what I will say is that, again, if there's going to be a bright spot for Tampa, it's going to be the front seven defensively.
Yep.
The NFC South is going to be a tough division to run the ball. You're going to have to be able to throw it. That's why the Saints are the favored team in Vegas right now, because the only quarterback that has proven anything in the South
Derek
right
Carr.
now is Derek Carr. That's why they're number one. So you can attack Atlanta at the line of scrimmage. I can put 8 in the box, single high, man-to-man on the outside, one guy looking at the tight end to keep him from running around, and I can attack Bijan Robinson and Desmond Ritter and feel pretty comfortable doing it. This division is not going to be good, but here's the positive. This is why that's good for Carolina. I can start Andy Dalton 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and at least today, on May 10th, not be afraid that the division will be out of reach by the time Bryce is ready. Right?
Look at last year's division. It was horrible.
Yeah. I can allow Bryce a week or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 5 weeks of the regular season. Because you got to keep in mind, it's not just the speed of the game itself, but it's also negotiating the media. It is travel. It's hotels. It's being away from your family. It's all these things that when we talk about football never really register with us as fans. It's not an easy life on the road for an NFL player.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to learn to navigate not only being the signal caller at an NFL caliber, but he's got to do it with a somewhat complicated Frank Reich offense that he's got to learn the intricacies of, and he's got to just learn how to be an NFL player on the road. I can give him 4 or 5 weeks to learn not just the offense, but what life on the road is like for an NFL player, and not be afraid that if we go 1-4, 2-3 under Andy Dalton, somebody else is going to be 5-0 and we're out of luck. We can't catch them. That's not going to be the case. So I don't think you have to rush the guy because A, you don't want him to burn out if he does go out there and go 1-4 to just get kicked in the teeth and never recover.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys do that. Peyton Manning had a crap rookie year.
Yep. It was like, what, 3-13?
Yep. But Peyton Manning also rookie record for interceptions in his opening year.
And look at him now. He's a Hall of Famer.
Right. But Peyton Manning was not weak-willed. Now, the good news is Frank Reich said that Bryce Young's mentality compares only to Peyton Manning, right? Said he's got the same attitude and the same ability to process the game, to understand the game, to execute a game plan.
Mhm.
And that's great.
I believe in Bryce Young.
Even if he comes out and he gets smoked. If what Frank Reich said is true, that Bryce Young's got a Peyton Manning mentality and he has a crap rookie year, hopefully it's not going to be enough to put him down to the dumps. You can go, hey, it's a rookie year. It's a learning curve. It is what it is. But like I said, I don't have to risk it. Unless we get to week 4 and, oh, would you look at that? The Saints are 4-0. You don't have to panic. Everybody's going to be, by week 8 in the NFC South, everybody, scratch that. New Orleans and Carolina are going to be within a game of each other. Atlanta's probably a game behind that. Tampa's probably 2 games behind that. But New Orleans and Carolina, at the worst, New Orleans, Carolina, and Atlanta will all be within a game of each other. And then Bryce Young gets added to the equation.
They're not out of the picture, no.
Right. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't need to, and I don't want to rush BY. Now, if he's ready for week 1, super duper awesome. Throw him out there. But if you aren't for sure that mentality is 100% ready to be an NFL quarterback, let Andy Dalton go out there and take all the heat out of the gate so that BY is mentally ready, because the division's not going to run away from you.
No.
Being in a crap division is a massive advantage for the Panthers. CJ Stroud doesn't have that benefit of the doubt. Will Levis doesn't have that benefit of the doubt. Anthony Richardson doesn't have that benefit. The only one who has it is Bryce Young. Let's take a break. When we come back, got a few more stories I want to get in here, including that Deion Sanders story, if we can fit it. But I got to give you a hilarious story about Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is staying in an Airbnb when his Dodgers play Milwaukee. He will not be staying with a team. And why is he not staying with a team? The answer is spooky. Tell you when we come back, Rob Brandon, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate.
James says, give Atlanta one more chance with an NHL team. I agree 100%.
I had that conversation, as a matter of fact, last night with somebody. We were talking hockey. Because they were like, hockey's never going to catch on in the South. And I was like, why not? And they're like, well, we just don't do it here. I was like, yeah, but there's a lot of things that we don't do that we do now because it got introduced. That's not an argument. Hockey is absolutely caught on in the South.
Look at Miami.
Tampa, Miami, Nashville. Like, yeah, it's absolutely caught on.
I think this new arena that's being built in Forsyth County for Atlanta, I think will be the key to helping, because you need money, obviously. And back then, Phillips Arena was the home for 4 teams, and it just wasn't. The Thrashers just weren't going to thrive there. But either we're the Knights, either we're the Flames. But I think this will help. I don't cheer on the Flames because they're in Calgary. I don't cheer on the Knights because they're in Anaheim.
Right.
And I don't cheer on the Thrashers because they're in Winnipeg.
Hey, it's Rob Brown from the Rob Brown Show. Listen, have you been thinking about moving to a new home? But
you're worried about rising interest rates. Maybe you're concerned that the housing market, which is constantly shifting based on interest rates and inventory, is just too big of a risk to take on by yourself. Or maybe you're worried that higher interest rates might make that dream home unaffordable at a point in time where we're all trying to save up money. Listen, at Allen Tate, they understand your concerns. And here's something you may not know. Higher interest rates do not necessarily mean a higher monthly mortgage payment. Home prices are normalizing, and that can mean a new home with a lower payment than you might have paid last year for a similar property. So if you're ready to make the move to a new address, then check out Allen Tate Realtors online at allentate.com. That's
Josh, what do you think about MVP World Series? Champion has a nice ring to it. For who?
Start packing for your new dream home. It's our friends at Allen Tate Realtors.
MOM. Three little letters that hold so much power, importance, and love. At Ingles, we know that being a mom is its own reward, but it's also the toughest job anyone can take on. So to all the moms out there who save the day on a daily basis, your kids big and small, we at Ingles got your back. Mother's Day, moms. Ingles. We're with you every day. I'm Mark Ryan. If you like me, you're
Oh, he said in regards to the Atlanta thing, I sent Rob on Twitter.
Yes. Is Sean Murphy a legit NL MVP candidate? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Let's see what the odds are today in the National League. National League MVP, your current National League MVP odds on leader right now is Ronald Acuna Jr. at plus 220. The next closest to Ronnie is Pete Alonso at plus 800. That's unbelievable. Yeah, he is. He is. Juan Soto's plus 1,600. Goldie's at plus 2,000. Matt Olson is plus 3,000. Austin Riley is plus 2,500. Sean Murphy's plus 20. The Braves have 4 of the top dozen NL MVP candidates right now. It's unreal. Max Muncy is plus 2,000 right now, big boy. I don't hate that pick. That's a good flyer at plus 2,000. All right, I got a couple of things I'm going to get to, but this didn't get pointed out to me. I pointed this out during the break because I'm good at my job. My man Skrilla hit me up on Twitter, which you can do as well, at The Rob Brown Show, at The Rob Brown Show. Sent me a tweet where MLB Network pointed out that yesterday, Sean Murphy of the Atlanta Braves went 3 for 4 with 4 ribbies and asked, is he a legitimate NL MVP candidate right now? To which the answer is
yes.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I decided to go during the break, pull the NL MVP odds from Vegas Insider. Right now, your NL MVP odds-on favorite is Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Atlanta Braves. He is plus 220. Plus 220. It is May 10th.
And he is already on that list.
Not on the list.
He's the
He
front
is
runner.
not only the front runner, plus 220. The next best odds are Pete Alonso, who is having a masher season.
Oh, yeah.
Is plus 800. Plus 220 to plus 800. But that wasn't all that stood out to me. Listen to these numbers. Ronnie plus 220. Pete Alonso plus 800. Padres Fernando Tatis Jr. is plus 1,100. He's starting to get going a little bit. Mookie Betts from the Dodgers plus 1,400. Juan Soto of the Padres plus 1,600. Goldie, Paul Goldschmidt, last year's winner, plus 2,000. Max Muncy of the Dodgers plus 2,000. How about this? The next 3. Austin Riley, plus 2,500. He plays for
Atlanta Braves.
Sean Murphy, plus 2,500. He plays for
The Bravos.
And Matt Olson, plus 3,000. He plays for
The Braves. 4.
The Atlanta Braves, ladies and gentlemen. In the top dozen NL players right now, the Braves are fielding 4 of them. Now, I'm bad at math. But 4 out of 12 is 33.33%.
Mm-hmm.
The Atlanta Braves own 1/3 of the National League's entire top 12 MVP candidates right now. That team's pretty good, dude.
They're doing something special.
They're doing something good. Speaking of Mookie Betts, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I can't wait to hear the story.
Rob Brown does not believe in ghosts. All right? I don't believe in the supernatural. I don't believe I've ever been presented sufficient evidence to believe in the supernatural. I believe that the default position on any belief is to not believe a thing until sufficient evidence for that thing has been presented to you. However, I recognize that a lot of people do believe in ghosts.
I'm one of them.
Sure. And I don't fault anybody's beliefs for whatever the reason. And I'm always happy to have the conversation. I don't. A lot of people do. One of those people may or may not be Mookie Betts. When Major League Baseball teams travel to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to play baseball, they stay at a 130-year-old hotel called the Pfister Hotel, Pfister, the Pfister
I've heard of that hotel.
It opened in 1893 and was known as the Grand Hotel of the West. It is also known as one of the most haunted hotels in the United States of America.
Yeah, it was used during the Civil War.
Charles Milwaukee Silver, known at the time as the first white boy born in Milwaukee. I'm reading this off of, by the way, WUWM NPR 89.7 from Milwaukee. Charles Milwaukee Sevier, known at the time as, quote, the first white boy born in Milwaukee, end quote, was interviewed throughout his life by local papers to reminisce about Milwaukee's past. In NPR's research, they found an article published May 5th, 1983 in the Daily Sentinel that quotes Sevier. It says, quote, he was talking about a time in the past when he lived in a log cabin that was on the land that now holds the Pfister, and he reminisced that it was also a private burying ground. They were breaking ground for it. He went to the property to look for bones of some of these people and could not find them. So that is, I think, where this legend truly began, that this hotel is built on land that had once been graves. The Pfister has hosted every president since William McKinley. Elvis stayed there in 1977, 4 months before he died, but it is also known as the MLB hotel in the city. This is where players stay when they are set to play there. And there have been stories from baseball players who have described strange occurrences at the hotel. Players have told stories of weird noises, flickering lights, electronics acting strangely, and things being moved around in the rooms. Back in 2018, Cardinals pitcher Carlos Martinez told a story. He said that he was up in the middle of the night and he jumped on Instagram. He said something happened in his room that he did not go into great detail about. But he said that something happened in his room that put him into quite the spook. And the next day, he pitched terribly. He blamed it on the Pfister ghost. Actor Joey Lawrence claimed during his stay in 2006 that he was wakened in the middle of the night by lights and sounds coming from his daughter's toys. Megan Thee Stallion stayed there at a hotel. She said that she experienced some things during the night that gave her some pause. And there are many baseball players who have said that strange things happened at the Pfister Hotel, many of them saying that strange things happened at the Pfister Hotel, and then they played their worst ball of the season the next day against the Brew Crew. Well, Mookie Betts is not betting on letting that happen. The Dodgers are on the road against the Brewers this week, and as usual, the team is staying at the Pfister Hotel, but Mookie told the team, no, I'm good. Mookie got himself and some friends an Airbnb close to the hotel because he does not want to stay there. He said that He does not believe in ghost. But just in case, just in case, the Pfister ghost decides to reveal himself to Mookie, he's not taking any chances. He said, I wouldn't be able to sleep. Every noise, I'd be like, is that something? MLB.com goes on to tell some stories. Here's a story from Bryce Harper, Philadelphia Philly. Real good player.
Yep.
He said, quote, one time last summer before I went to sleep, I had laid a pair of jeans and a shirt on the table at the foot of the bed. Those things in hotels that you sit on to put on your shoes. I just laid them out, simple as that. When I woke up in the morning, I swear on everything, the clothes were on the floor and the table was on the opposite side of the room against the wall. I was so flustered. I honestly thought there might be someone in my room. I had no idea what the hell just happened. So I actually looked around and then I checked to see if the door was still latched, and it was. Former player Brandon Phillips said, quote, we play Milwaukee a lot, but I remember one time I came into the room and just sat on the bed. Then for some reason, the damn radio turned on. So I turned it off and got in the shower. When I was done, that mother bleeper had turned it back on. Former MLBer Michael Young said, and I quote, oh, bleep that place. Listen, I'm not someone who spreads ghost stories. So if I'm telling you this, it happened. A couple of years ago, I was lying in bed after a night game, and I was out. My room was locked, but I heard these footsteps inside my room stomping around. I heard all these stories about the hotel, so I was wide awake at that point. And then I heard it again, those footsteps on the floor. So I yelled out, hey, make yourself at home, hang out, have a seat, but do not wake me up, okay? After that, I didn't hear a thing for the rest of the night. I just let him know he was welcome, that we could be pals, that he could marinate in there for as long as he needed to, just as long as he didn't wake me up, end quote. These are like high caliber MLB players, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also going to say this. MLB players are the most superstitious players of any sport anywhere.
Yes.
These are the guys that won't step on a first baseline because they think it'll trigger a slump. These are the guys that will play 10, 11, 12, 13 games in the same underoos because they got them a dub, all right? Without washing them.
They do the same routine when they warm up too for getting it coming into up to bat.
Yeah, I get it. They're super superstitious, not a little stitious, superstitious.
Yep.
I get it. But my man Mookie said, bleep that hotel and bleep my friends. I'm getting an Airbnb. You know, I don't get it, but I get it. I don't get it, but I get it. Anyway, the Pfister Hotel in Milwaukee. See, all this makes me want to do now is go see a Braves at Brew Crew game and stay there. Not even to try to run into Austin Riley. I just want to see if I get the same experience. I really do. Like I said, I don't believe in ghosts. I'm open to the possibility that they're real. But Mookie, who also claims to not believe in ghosts, was like, I don't believe in him. But I ain't rolling the dice, dude. No chance. What an incredible story. Good on Mookie. Do your thing, young man. Anyway, speaking of baseball, as we mentioned, the Bravos get a 9-3 win over the Boston Red Sox last night. They will roll it back out today. As of right now, the Braves, I do not believe, have listed a starting pitcher. Charlie Morton went to the Hill last night, had a pretty good night.
So Snit actually says it's going to be a bullpen game today.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are listed as undecided right now. So bullpen game for the Bravos, which is interesting. Is this the first one this year they've thrown?
No, I think it's the third.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. All right. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. We'll have the last segment of the show. I got about 4 stories that I want to bounce off of real quick, but I had to get the story of the Pfister ghost on the radio. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Rob won't even go to a haunted attraction, but wants to see a real ghost. What did I miss?
No. You didn't miss anything. I don't believe in ghosts. All right. I would love to see a real ghost because then I'd have a reason to believe in ghosts. But right now I don't. Hit in the restroom. Be right back, and then we'll talk about ghosts because that's what we do. All right. I'd love it if the USFL or XFL could come to Greenville and build a stadium that could be shared with the Triumph and Liberty. That'd be super dope. I wouldn't hate that at all. Problem you're going to have is, as Skrilla pointed out, that's a lot of wear and tear on that grass. It's part of the reason the NFL teams don't want to go to grass away from turf is because of the maintenance.
Offering professional grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call quickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
At the United States Postal Service, we're reinventing our network to help keep your business moving. With new shipping options to deliver better value, greater flexibility to conveniently reach your customers, more confident shipping with new informed delivery features. New electric vehicles for a cleaner, brighter future. Fast, reliable, perfectly orchestrated. United States Postal Service, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/moving forward.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right. If you want to learn a language, there's no faster.
Steve asked if you'd seen the Guardians yet.
I have not because the fiance wants to see it, and getting date night together with her is difficult to do, but we're working on it. I hope to see it sooner rather than later.
This afternoon, nice and a great day to be outside. High of 82.
Weather is brought to you by Beacon. Beacon has the newest power tool in roofing, the Beacon Pro Plus mobile app. Now through June, purchase online with Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Beacon, always building.
Wrapping up the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. Brandon filling in for Lonzo today. We appreciate the hard work and the effort. A lot of stuff that has been going on in the world of sports. We have got NBA taking place. It has been it's been a good NBA playoffs, man. Now, that being said, the series being played out right now kind of all have some narratives going to them. And tonight, we get Miami versus New York on the road. The Knicks. The Knicks were a feel-good team coming into this, if you're a Knicks fan. The Miami Heat, however, have a Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Buckets has been phenomenal.
But the Miami Heat were very lucky this year because they were, one loss away from being out of the playoffs completely. They lost in their first playoff game in the play-in tournament.
The Heat got, snuck in at the very last minute. Play-in team. This tournament, the play-in teams for the most part have been pretty good. And the Heat, by the way, knocking off Milwaukee. Granted, Giannis played 11 minutes in the first game before he got out. He did not play game 2 and 3. And again, a lot of people, I think, expected when Giannis came back in game 4 that it was just going to tilt all Bucks. But not having your superstar for 3 games and then having to get your chemistry back on the fly in the playoffs against a team that's got Buckets doing the way Buckets doing right now is going to be tough. So Miami's been a lot of fun to watch here. On top of that, the Knicks kind of got to a spot in the last game where they just fell apart. Julius Randle was MIA, fouled out late in that game because he was being asked to do everything defensively. I really like Jalen Brunson, and I really like Jalen Brunson's game. But when it was obvious that Randle was going to do nothing for them and they couldn't really get anything going off the bench, Mitchell Robinson isn't exactly a guy that's going to own the paint for you. The Heat were able to start throwing extra guys at Brunson. He wasn't in fact, it cost me a parlay because I think one of my parlays, I had Jalen Brunson in the last game to hit 3 3-pointers. I thought that was a gimme. He couldn't get any room. Couldn't get any room anywhere to get anything off. So Miami's got the Knicks down 3-1 in the semifinals in the East. Over in the West, how about the Lakers putting Golden State in a 3-1 hole? The Pelicans own the rights to the Lakers' first-round pick in the next draft. For about 2.5 months of the season, your boy Rob Brown, the Pelicans fan, was doing the happy dance. I'm like, oh, the Lakers suck, and we get their pick? This is going to be great. We're going to have a top 10 pick. And now we're not. Not only are we not now, but the Lakers are playing not just the best basketball of their season, they might be playing the best basketball in the postseason so far. They have Coach Ham's figured something out for this team. They have Anthony Davis, who has been an up and down player, right? He's had very good games and then crap games after. He has been a very, very good player in spots. LeBron, by the way, Brian Windhorst said the other day that LeBron has been dealing with a bit of a minor foot injury the last couple of weeks and has been playing through it, but trying not to overdo it, right? He's been trying to take it easy because if and when they get out of this series, they still got 2 more 7-game series left to go. I'm intrigued by this because it says to me that the Lakers have put the Dubs, the defending champs, into a 3-1 hole with LeBron half-assing it. What's going to happen if that is true? And that foot heals up for LeBron. I don't know if it can, right? I don't know what kind of injury it is. I don't know what kind of injury he's dealing with, if it's something that can be fixed up. I don't know. I am very, very interested, frankly, to see if LeBron gets to a point where he's got to drop it into a higher gear, if that makes the Lakers better or worse, right? Because they've got guys. Lonnie Wilson, the fourth, stepped the hell up the other night. 15 in the fourth. Looked good doing it. If LeBron decides to be old school Braun in the fourth of a game because they just need it to put him away, right? I watched the post-game interview after the Game 4 win. And they were like, what attitude do you have to bring in to put Golden State away on their floor? And he's like, we got to play desperate. This is a team with a trophy. They know how to get out of a situation like this, even though I think it's like 92% of teams that find themselves down 3-1 lose a series. It's not a very good success rate. But if you had to find a team that could do it, I would say the Golden State Warriors and their championship rings would be the one you'd bank on to do it. So if they find themselves in a real good game with the Lake Show tonight and LeBron takes off, does it throw off what the Lakers have been doing, or does it boost them a little bit? I got Golden State winning tonight.
Really?
Yeah.
I think the Lakers are going to close it out tonight.
Desperate Dubs team at home on their own floor, and Golden State, San Francisco has been a wildly difficult place to play.
But Golden State has been a lot like the Atlanta Hawks this year. They're very predictable. They're terrible on the road. They're average at home. Atlanta was the best 500 team in the entire NBA. We knew that one already. But Golden State is kind of like, which Golden State team are you going to get tonight? You have to do a coin toss to see which one you're going to get tonight.
That's fair. That's fair. They were not the good one the other night. Steph Curry fell apart, which is not a sentence you say very often. But Steph Curry fell apart. The two shots that he took, by the way, Steph Curry, how about this? I saw this stat earlier today. Steph Curry, in his career in the playoffs, for game-winning or tying shots inside of the last 45 seconds of the game is 0 for 12, right?
I saw that stat too.
Dude is still the best long shooter in the history of the league.
Yep.
That can't be taken from him. But what it does tell me is that Steph forces final shots. I'm not saying that a player shouldn't try to create, but those two shots he put up over AD, both of them step back jumpers. One where he took about a 3-foot hop backwards from the paint past the free throw line and bricked it. And then the second one where he took about a 3-foot hop backwards and shot it from just inside the Lakers logo were two terrible low percentage shots. And then when the Dubs got a chance and the ball got inbound and it tipped to him and he went falling down, he just threw it out of bounds. Falling backwards, he just kind of flicked it backwards over his head. That's terrible situational awareness, and that's terrible court awareness. That cannot be what Steph Curry does. The one thing that the Warriors cannot do, in my opinion, is let this game come down to a last-ditch effort from the Warriors where Steph Curry feels like he's got to play hero ball and create a miracle because he's 0 for 12 in that situation. Law of averages says eventually he's going to hit one. Oh, yeah, and thanks to Brandon for pointing out, when Steph Curry fell backwards and threw the ball over his head out of bounds, he had a timeout.
Yep.
He could have just looked at the ref and went, timeout. And he either forgot.
He tried to play Mr. Hero.
Or thought there was somebody behind him open to get the ball to, in which case, again, either it was a failure of situational awareness by Steph Curry, or it was a terrible failure of court awareness. Out of a point guard, those are both bad. He needs to know, I got a timeout. Once I get the ball, I need to use it. Or he's got to know, I'm getting double teamed. Where's the open guy to get him the rock and give him a shot? And he didn't do either of those two things. I love Steph, but Steph's not the guy whose hands I want the ball in an emergency situation at the buzzer. It's just not. So there you go. A couple of thoughts for you. Also tonight in the NHL, the Florida Panthers try to put away the Toronto Maple Leafs. Game 4, Florida leads that series 3-0, and this game is in South Florida. The Rats are out for the Cats.
I say it's a broom night.
Get them out. I'm happy to hear it. And Vegas is on the road at Edmonton. It is going to be loud in Edmonton. That's been a hostile work environment for the Golden Knights. They would love to try to go up 3-1 before they head back to Vegas.
I think Golden Knights pull it through.
I'm not so sure about that. Edmonton's going to be tough to beat at home, and more importantly, their backs are against the wall because they cannot go back to Vegas.
When Vegas gets on, though, they are on.
I don't disagree, but when they're not, they're not.
No, when they're bad, they're really bad.
Yeah.
They find really ways to be bad.
So I'm going to go Florida puts away Toronto tonight in the sweep, and I'm going to go Edmonton gets the win over Vegas because they cannot go to Vegas facing it. Vegas is a tough place to play. You got to think about it. Vegas Golden Knight fans are by and large not Vegas Golden Knight fans. They're people in Vegas to have a good time. They're drunk, they're rowdy, they're loud. You do not want to go back there down 3-1. So I'm going to go Edmonton gets that win, and we go 2-2 back to Vegas. I'm going to go Toronto falls to Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for the day. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the radio broadcast. If you didn't, we'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again and try harder. Thank you very much for filling in today, Brandon. We appreciate it. May or may not see you back tomorrow. We'll hear what we hear from Zoe. Send him some well wishes at Lonzo on Word on Twitter. We're back tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. All right, stream, I got to run because I got a baseball game to work. Thank you guys for hanging out. We appreciate it. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.